Hey guys, Peter here to tell you about the latest from A&P-Reacts, out March 28th on Napalm Records. This album has 11 tracks, 42 minutes in length, and this is the band's third full-length studio album. They are a New Zealand metal band. Now, when it comes to the design of this record, I enjoy the album from an overall standpoint, but I also enjoy the album from an individual track listing approach. If you look at the individual songs on this record, there's a lot of nuances from track to track. It's not an album that feels uniform all the way throughout, not that I was expecting that, but it's a record that introduces some more enhanced influences into the sound, creating some bigger gaps and some bigger divides between some of these songs. Somehow they're able to still connect the dots and make the overall experience very cohesive. The length of the album also helps tremendously to the playability of the record itself. So all around, I really like the design because it gives the most to the album and it allows the most to come out of the individual songs. As far as the sound on this record is concerned, this album has a lot of groove metal, has a lot of those traditional alien weaponry sounds that we saw on both of their records, but I would say this album connects a lot more to their debut record. Now, the addition that I felt that this album had, not to say that previous records haven't had metalcore elements, but metalcore on this album is a little bit better defined. You can see it a lot better, it's a lot easier to detect, and it's also a lot easier to see the impact that it has in the songs, both from a musical standpoint, but also from a vocal standpoint. This allows the record to be a little bit richer. It allows the record to be more textured, to have a much bigger bandwidth, and allows the band from an inspirational standpoint to say a lot more and to be a lot more creative in how they say it. So this makes this a more powerful sounding album. You're not necessarily tied in to a very similar guitar sound, song in, song out. This album has a lot of changes from that perspective. The impact of the drums and bass, it's perhaps a little bit better defined as well as far as the production is concerned, allowing those two elements to play a bigger role than they've ever played before on the record, adding to the aggression, adding to the sound, not just creating the heartbeat of the music, but creating the exoskeleton that the songs have. And this gives room for the guitars to be dynamic, to be versatile, to bring in groove metal elements, to bring in thrash metal elements, to bring in a lot of metalcore and more modern metal elements. And to me, this is the right way to approach it. You are a band that's still kind of finding its footing. This is only their third record, and the success of the debut album perhaps weighs heavy on their shoulders. But this album allows them to connect with that past, that not so distant past. At the same time, it allows them to open doors into the future. This record sounds a lot better from that perspective. It feels more mature, even though they're still a very young band. This album definitely feels better crafted, more mature, a better sense of direction, a better sense of purpose in the sound, knowing exactly what you want out of these songs and then delivering them to the best of your ability. I honestly enjoy the sound all around on this record. I enjoyed all the little twists and turns and the more pronounced, well-defined metalcore influence that comes in definitely is an addition to the quality of what this band can do. And I already mentioned the impact of the drums and bass and guitars, but I really feel like I have to say a little bit more because guitar-wise, this record on a song-by-song basis does not have the same fingerprint. And that also helps define the individuality of the tracks and define the fingerprint of each and every single song and allows the record to have a lot more ebbs and flows, to be more dynamic, but at the same time to be more fluid, to be more aggressive, to be more intense. So the guitars on this album have a lot more life in them. And I think that's a great way to approach a record like this. You want to give the songs what the songs need, and you want to create some sort of sense of continuation throughout the record, but at the same time, not being afraid of throwing in a couple curveballs. And the guitars definitely do that. I don't feel like this is necessarily a guitar-driven album. It is a guitar-focused record because that is one of the main pillars of the album, but it's not necessarily a guitar-driven album because when you look at the overall sound and you see, like I said earlier, the impact of drums and bass, which, by the way, I think this is perhaps the best bass sound and the best drum sound that I've heard on an Alien Weaponry record, more so not from an individual standpoint of what those two elements are offering, but better in terms of how it connects with the guitars and how all of them together make a much better sound tapestry. And that's how this record is presented from that standpoint. Now, once you move into the vocals are perhaps the least I should say the element that changes the least. All right, that's what I'm trying to say here. It's the one that stays more consistent with previous records and stays very consistent throughout this record. There are some changes here and there. I really appreciate some of the backing vocals and the adding layers to the vocals, bringing almost a little bit more of a live experience into the studio, adding some heaviness, adding some depth, adding some thickness. All of those elements that were added throughout this record definitely improved the quality all around of what the vocal performance can do. I also appreciated some of the more clean vocals, specifically on those more metalcore focused songs. The clean vocals really bring that more modern metal sound to the picture, or at least help define that more modern metal sound. And then obviously that more raspy, aggressive vocal performance that's always been the standard throughout Alien Weaponry music stays consistent on this record as well. I don't want to call this a comeback record, but this album definitely does deliver a lot more than what their sophomore record did. This is a more complete body of work. It's an album that has more of a vision to it. It delivers that vision in a very simple way, easy to grasp, easy to understand, easy to follow. It has that level of intensity that I hadn't seen in this band since their debut album, and I'm glad to see it back. Now, as far as favorite songs are concerned, I want to start off with Crown. This is the opening song on the record, and it's a song that has a very metalcore riff. And when you think about this song as the opening song, and you think about that more metalcore riff sound, adding a lot of dynamics to the song, adding a lot of fluidity to the song, still with a lot of groove metal elements, this starts to paint the picture of what the rest of the record is going to be all about. It definitely sets the bar for the album. It sets the bar for the sound on this record. It's a song that's very rich, it has a lot of textures to it, great vocally. I love the backing vocal, specifically in the chorus. It adds an explosive nature to the way that chorus comes across, but it still has this super intense drive to it, and with that more modern guitar sound, that more metalcore influence that brings it all together under one single umbrella. Then you have a song like Hanging by a Thread. To me, this track relates to Holding My Breath. Not that the two songs sound alike. There are some similarities in the sound, but more so in the construction of the track. But this track, in my opinion, feels thicker, chunkier, groovier, heavier. It has so many great elements to it that you can see the proximity between the two songs, but the proximity also becomes a little bit more apparent in the theme of the song and definitely in the vibe that the song creates. I really put these two songs side by side because one is the representation of the other in two different records, and there's definitely some ties that bring these two songs together, but this is a great track, one of the most intense, driven songs on the album that has that groove element influence to the track, that has that original band DNA to it. So from that perspective, this track definitely delivers. Great song, great sound, both musically and vocally, is at its best. Last but definitely not least, Blackened Sky. The reason I picked this song because this is the most modern metalcore sounding song on the entire record, both from what the sound offers but also from the vocal performance standpoint. When you look at this track and you see that metalcore sound, that metalcore guitar experience, drum experience in the verses, how the vocals flow in the verses with the aggression, with intensity, a really heavy song from that standpoint. And then you move into the chorus and you get more melancholic, you get more melodic, you get clean vocals. This is prototypical metalcore style approach, and it's a song that doesn't hide it. It really showcases that more modern side of the band that we had never seen like this before. It's not mixed in with groove elements, it's not mixed in with thrash elements. This song is not trying to hide what influenced it. This song is what it is, and in my opinion, this is a straight up metalcore track by Alien Weaponry, and it's one of its kind within the entire record, and because of that, it really stands out. This is it, Alien Weaponry with Tenra, out March 28th on Napalm Records. Let me know your thoughts on the band on the singles. Hit me up in the comment section, and I'll see you all at the next video. Take care, guys.